Welcome back to another edition of the Late Night Chat live stream podcast thingy with myself and Joey Boy. Hope you're all doing very well on this fine Saturday evening. Hope you're all enjoying yourselves, having a good weekend. Hope you all enjoyed City's performance at 12:30 this morning. We were just saying before we went live, the game feels like ages ago. It's almost hard to remember what happened, but we'll remember. We will remember. We were there. We were there. Guys, first things first, make sure you smash the like button on this stream. Every like massively helps. The goal is always 50 likes ASAP. So let's try and get to 50 ASAP. Subscribe if you're new and get your thoughts. Get your thoughts in the chat on this morning's game. We're going to move into Real Madrid a bit. We're going to talk about who we want to see play in Madrid. Talk about performances today. Has anybody worked their way into the Real Madrid plans? You got Foden versus De Bruyne. There's a big debate going on. You got Rico versus Walker. You've got loads of things going on. Alvarez back in midfield today. Not something I particularly wanted to see, but we will talk about it. But listen, like I said, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, and let's get straight into it. Manchester City 4, Crystal Palace 2. I predicted a 2-1. You predicted a 3-1. But I think we both agreed it was going to be a very difficult game. I wasn't expecting that good of a performance. But, I mean, Joe, when the first goal went in, me and you were there for the reverse of this game in the Etihad, Mateta, when I was pretty sure it was him, wasn't it, that scored the equaliser to make it 2 each. And I was thinking, is this going to be one of those days where... Look, I thought my thought process was when that goal went in, first of all, is it going to be one of those days where it doesn't go our way and we drop points? And if it was to be one of those days, is it going to be the day where we realise we're not winning the league? Because if we did not win today, for me, it was league done. What did you guys think when the first goal went in? I did shit myself a little bit.
I was calm because, like, I expected it. To be honest, I expected it. Like, I'm at the stage now where nothing surprises me this season in terms of conceding first or conceding soft goals. Like, it doesn't surprise me anymore. Like, it doesn't catch me off guard. I wasn't angry. I wasn't annoyed. My genuine reaction was, fuck me, this has happened again. That's all I was like. I was like, this has happened again. Like, I still backed us to turn it around in the end, because if we had anything about us, we know that we have to go perfect. So if we know that we have to go perfect and want to win the league, then we have to turn it around. And I mean, I was never nervous when we went 1-0 down, but it's just one of those things, isn't it? That's how our season has gone. It's very up and down, very inconsistent. 1 week it's one thing, next week it's another thing. You never know what to expect. But I mean, it was just business as usual. I mean, first shot on target, another goal. Doesn't matter who we have in goal. You know, Ortega's whacking around doing Cruyff turns in his 18-yard box. It doesn't matter who we've got. You know, first shot on target seems to just go in. It seems to just be an us thing. I don't know whether it's the way we defend, because it seems like when we concede, it's giving up an easy chance. It's not like a hard chance where you're like, oh, that's a good finish. There's nothing the goalkeeper could do. A lot of the times it's one ball in behind, one-on-one with the keeper. It's in God's hands.
It's just the reason I felt a little bit nervous when that first goal went in is because of Selhurst Park. It's because of these types of away days where it's nasty. They make it rough for you. Like, I was in Selhurst for the away game last season when we beat them 1-0. If you remember that correctly, they locked it down. Only we got the Haaland penalty in that game last season. We wouldn't have won the game. They locked it down. Palace, I know they're not doing very well this season, but they have the ability to make things very nasty, to shut up shop. You know, the place gets on top of you, and all of a sudden you're chasing the game, you're trying to pick locks, and you can't find any answers. And my fear was that would become the case. But the first man we're going to talk about, I want to talk about loads of players on this stream, because loads of players deserve conversations and debates about whether they should be one of the main men moving forward, or you know, these kind of conversations. We have to talk about Kevin De Bruyne. Now, look, Kevin De Bruyne was at the brunt of a lot of conversations during the week, and it's reactionary stuff. It's really reactionary stuff. You know, Phil Foden bags a hat-trick against Aston Villa. My whole thing was gas up Phil Foden, but don't make it all of a sudden Kevin De Bruyne is washed. I think you can interlink the two names and talk about who's best suited to being the main number 8, or if one has to start, which one do you start? But people took it too far. People started saying Kevin De Bruyne is done now. Kevin De Bruyne is finished. He's a past player type thing, and you know, he'll be a bit part player. I was like, no, I'm not willing to go that far. Clearly, Kevin De Bruyne said, I'm not willing to go that far, because, I mean, look, CB in the chat says Joe has to be fuming about this Kevin De Bruyne masterclass. It was a bit of a masterclass. I mean, those goals, particularly, was the first one, the one that he equalised with, I think it was, where he hit a top bins. That's just Kev letting us know he's not done. That's him saying, I'm not done. He has had to refine his game, Kevin De Bruyne. If you watch Kevin De Bruyne, he's definitely refined his game. He doesn't do the same amount of legwork. He won't press as much. He won't do as many out-and-out sprints around the pitch, particularly out of possession. But in terms of what he can do on the ball and the way he can just change games at the click of a fingers, he totally reminded us of that today. And he's instigating amongst people like ourselves, Joe, and people like you guys in the chat and people online, as to if one has to play Foden or De Bruyne. He's instigating a great conversation for that. I mean, what did you make of him today?
First of all, I don't know why I'd be fuming. My team's just won 4-2. Why would I be fuming? Innit? Like, I get if you go back, you look at the archives, I had a little fun with a little agenda, but it's fine. I'm past that stage now. We're done with that. New me, new era, new me. But like, it's just some of the simple shit as well. Like, there were times where the ball was just static. It was moving left to right across the back four. There was no movement whatsoever. We weren't getting it up the pitch. He'd drop deep, come get the ball, pass it around a few times. You know, get things moving in there. Even just simple stuff like that. Like, he took the game. He took the game by the scruff of the neck, and it's something that in his last games he hasn't been doing. He has been playing poorly. I mean, I've not been panicking. I've not been saying he's washed. I did flirt with the idea of possibly a bench role for now, as the other players, you know, I mean, look at Phil Foden in that position. You know, he's playing much better. That was just a simple fact. And, you know, while Kevin De Bruyne was potentially still getting his legs back, maybe a bench idea wasn't a good thing, but that's, you know, that's off the table now, because he's just won as a game of football. What, 2 goals, 1 assist in a 4-2? Like, he's won as a game of football. He seems to me, like, at least anyway, that he's slowly getting back to that top form. I think the last 20, 30 minutes against Arsenal, where he decided to take over a little bit, yes, it didn't result in anything, but that was almost like the start. That was when, you know, he flipped the switch in that game. And again today, he flipped the switch, he turned it on. In the games previous to that, I know there were massive fixtures, but if you look at, you know, Man United and Liverpool, he was kind of okay. He wasn't like horrible, but he was kind of okay, kind of coasting. He got taken off against Liverpool. Didn't really do too much against United, but, you know, we won 3-1, so that didn't really matter in the end. So it's nice to see. And it's good to see, again, the timing as well, because if you think of Madrid coming next, that's a huge, huge game. And he's a huge, huge player. He's a big game player. So for us to be sat here thinking that he's potentially, you know, got his legs back and he can now kick on and end the season really strongly, when we've got Real Madrid around the corner, when we've, you know, basically got to go perfect to win trophies this season, then that's a good sign. And I mean, look, you said he's put the idea out of him or Foden. I think the quote that I saw was, you know, if he can play with Alvarez in midfield, why can't he play with Foden in midfield? And that's kind of my point, is if Alvarez can sit in that midfield position, as a number 9, can sit in a midfield position, why can we not see Phil Foden do that instead and sit next to De Bruyne? Why can't we see that? Why have we not seen that very often?
Well, that's my ultimate point. That's what I want to see. Guys, there's nearly 50 in the building. We're on 30 likes. Make sure you smash the like button. It gets more people in here and helps the channel grow. My thing is, I want to see Foden and De Bruyne. I believe Foden and De Bruyne is the most threatening and dangerous midfield we can possibly have. You talk about the the range of threats that both of them as a combination can pose, it's actually frightening. But Pep seems to insist on having a number 8 beside Kevin De Bruyne, who's going to do what you call the legwork, and that's interlinked with what I was saying about Kevin De Bruyne a few minutes ago. I don't believe we're going to see the Kevin De Bruyne of 2 seasons ago ever again. The Kevin De Bruyne that we saw of 2-3 seasons ago, and for most of his time at City, was an extremely hard-working, like he had all the on-the-ball attributes that you still see to this day, but he was an extremely hard-working, high-pressing. That's why we saw Kevin De Bruyne play false 9 a couple times when we had no striker, because he was high-pressing, high-energy, really intense. Whereas now, through the nature of, first of all, his age, and then, of course, the nature of his injuries, it's not worth telling Kevin De Bruyne you still need to press high and get in players' faces and try and win the ball back when your best attributes are on the ball. We'd rather have a number 8 beside you, like an Alvarez, like a Labrador. Alvarez is not put in midfield to be a creator or to be a string puller or create chances in general. Alvarez is there to pick up the legwork that Kevin De Bruyne isn't doing. Now, if you mean to tell me, I don't mean you, Joe, but people are suggesting that Phil Foden can't do that, I think you're totally wrong. I think Phil Foden, because of his age and because of how energetic he is anyway, he can do that and more. So you're going to get from Foden the legwork that you get from Alvarez, if you tell him that's what you need to do, as well as being a chance creator, as well as being a goal getter, as well as being a game changer. But we're not going to see it. I will put money on it right now that we are not going to see it in the Bernabeu. Once again, this goes right back to Foden versus De Bruyne, and people really need to chill with this Foden versus De Bruyne thing. I'm all for having conversations about who you think is suited best, who might deserve it slightly more based on form, based on this, based on that. I'm all happy for conversations. But what we need to chill out on is if you're saying I'd prefer one to start here or one to start there, it doesn't mean we're saying one is finished or one is crap and so on and so forth. We experienced this with Grealish versus Doku. Remember earlier on in the season, it was if you were a Grealish fan, you thought Doku was rubbish. If you were a Doku fan, you thought Grealish was rubbish. We need to chill out on that. Look, I try not to be too reactionary ever. I try not to, get too gassed off one game or 2 games and, push one player to the side. We have to accept the fact that since the turn of the year, at the very minimum, Phil Foden has arguably, beside Rodri, been our very, very best player. Game-changing multiple times. Big goals, big moments, chance creations in games where we've looked stale or we've not looked fluid. So I find it really hard. If Pep's going to go with, in my opinion, a midfield of Rodri, Kovacic, and De Bruyne or Foden, I think it'll be De Bruyne. But if he's going to go with Rodri, Kovacic, and one or the other, I find it really hard to look at Phil Foden and say, it's not you, because of how good he's been. But then again, I also get the point that it's fucking Kevin De Bruyne. He scored goals in the Bernabeu before. He's a big game, big moments player. So the whole conversation is so hard. The whole debate is so hard to come to a conclusion to. I mean, if you were to pick one for the Bernabeu on Tuesday, Joe, and try not to just base your answer off today's game, who are you going with? I mean, what's your whole midfield? Your whole midfield 3?
Well, Rodri for 1, that's standard. Bernardo Silva for 2. He's just the ultimate big game player. And then I'd go with Kevin De Bruyne in the middle. Experience, got us the goal there last year that gave us a draw. Scored at the Bernabeu previous to that as well. Like, it just boils down to experience. Like, I get it. I also see both arguments, but I know Pep's going to go with De Bruyne. And if you don't play De Bruyne in the middle, then it probably means you don't play him at all. Whereas if you don't play Foden in the middle, you can squeeze him in elsewhere. He might not be as effective, but you can still get him in the team. So if I'm to pick a midfield 3, it is Kevin De Bruyne, because you can move Foden onto the right. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't want it. But you can do that. You can't really do that with Kevin De Bruyne. You can't, squeeze him in on the right. That's not going to happen. So I go with Kevin De Bruyne. But I mean, to anybody saying that they can't play in midfield together and there'd not be enough defensive side of the ball, you just clearly haven't been watching this season. Watch a game where Phil Foden plays in the middle, in the midfield. Look how much he runs. Look how much he presses. He sprints back to win the ball. Look at the last game he played, Aston Villa. He was winning headers in his own 18-yard box. They're telling me that's not defensive work rate. Like, he will work. He loves football. He is a pure footballer. He loves the game so much that he will work. He will run for the team. He will do that. And like you said, he's a good age where it's not going to tire him out, it's not going to come at the detriment to his career because he can do that still.
It's just where do you fit him in? It's just where do you fit him in? Because in my opinion, Bernardo Silva is nailed on to play on the right. Nailed on. Based off both his performance against Real Madrid last year. Bernardo Silva on the right wing against Real Madrid last season was one of Pep's biggest masterstrokes of all time because of everything I'm talking about that Alvarez is meant to bring into midfield. Bernardo did that on the right and totally shut down Real Madrid's left-hand side for large parts. I mean, Vinicius wasn't able to be as dangerous because Bernardo was, on his arse essentially. He shut down Camavinga as well. I feel Bernardo was nailed on to play right wing. So where does Foden play? Does Foden play in the left? I don't think so. I think Jack Grealish is nailed on to play left wing. I think we're going to talk about Jack Grealish, but once again, where does Foden play? If I was the manager, obviously I'm not. I'd say fuck it, go Rodri, Kev, Foden. Why not?
I would do that as well. And you know me, I would do that. But I just know, based on this season and based on look at the big games, he doesn't play Foden and De Bruyne in the middle. Plays Foden out wide, De Bruyne in the middle, and then play Bernardo Silva in the middle or Kovacic, one or the other. Like the ultimate team, I guess, that we want to see is Grealish left, Bernardo right, Foden and De Bruyne in the middle, Haaland up top. You've got so much service into Haaland, so you can't complain about him not getting chances because you have your two creators behind him. You've got the two wide players who will help us retain the ball so we can create more chances and get a hold of the game, slow it down when we need to. There's balance in that team, but for some reason we never see it. I don't even think we saw it all because I don't think Grealish was fit. But, the last time that I can remember seeing De Bruyne and Foden in the midfield was Brentford, where he scored a hat-trick.
I mean, I think the main reason that we definitely won't see it in the Bernabeu, I don't think we'll see it this season anyway, but the reason we won't see the Bernabeu is because the game plan for the Bernabeu will not be it'll be to defend. We will go against the majority of our principles as a football team for this game. The majority of our principles as a football team are to attack, to be threatening, to dominate possession, to control, and to put the other team under pressure. That's the way we always play. But for this game, because we've cracked the code with Champions League, is that when you play away first, particularly, you don't got to do that. That was our downfall under Pep Guardiola in the Champions League prior to last season, was that we were going to away games like the Bernabeu and trying to blow them out of the water, trying to score 5, 6, and 7. That style of football that, if successful, you'll score 5, 6, and 7. And we're getting hit. And going, why isn't this working? Last season, right, we go to the Bernabeu. Let's just control. Let's just chill out. Let's just stop them. Even if we lose 1-0. It's kind of fine because we fancy ourselves back at the Etihad. So, if you put Foden and De Bruyne as the 2 8s or the 8 and the 10, whatever way you want to call it, that's way too attacking. To match that philosophy, that's way too attacking. Which is why I think Kovacic, he's almost nailed on to play. To be that extra kind of composed midfielder. He's almost going to do it's almost like what Gundogan offered, just not quite as good as Gundogan, if that makes sense. The calm, compose, he'll knock the ball around. You're not going to get too many through balls or threatening passes, but he'll do the basics just fine.
I don't think Kovacic is nailed on. I disagree with you. I really don't. Foden didn't play against Palace. He's 100% going to start in some capacity. 100% he plays somewhere. He's not going to drop Kevin De Bruyne, is he, after the game he's just had? Especially going to the Bernabeu, big game player. He's not going to do that. Grealish as well. He won't drop him because he makes us play better. So you're looking at Grealish, Haaland will be in there, Foden and Kevin De Bruyne. You got one more wing/midfield spot, however way you set it up, because Rodri will be in there. You dropping Bernardo Silva for the Bernabeu?
That's where I'm at. I think we're going to see one of Grealish or Bernardo not get the spot we think they deserve.
I don't think it'll be Kovacic, personally. I really don't. I think that's the guy that I'm willing to sacrifice, personally. Even if it means Foden plays on the wing and Bernardo plays in midfield, I'm willing to see that.
I think that's definitely a possibility. I think Foden on the wing, Bernardo beside De Bruyne. But we all know how good Bernardo was in that game, in both the games against Real Madrid last year. So you're just kind of leaning towards that, saying, do that again. But Things are different this season, I suppose, aren't they? They are slightly different. Guys, there's 60 people in the building. I'm on 47 likes. Let's see, can we just get 3 likes, wrap it up to 50? That'd be absolutely fantastic. Keep getting your thoughts in the chat. We got a super chat here from Piplup. Big up my guy Piplup, man. Good to see you as always, brother. He says, Scott Carson could start, or does Hugh hate him? Piplup, I told you to stop this hate list.
Another name. Hey,
We're not
Scott
doing this
Carson.
every day. We're not doing this every day. Scott Carson does not start, and I do not hate him, okay? 2 things can be correct at the same time, Piplup. Big up Piplup, man. That's my guy. Right, let's move it on to a player that I said might be sacrificed, might not be sacrificed. But today he was absolutely class, and I think today he was playing through discomfort. Today I think he was playing because he's just dying to be part of the run-in. He really, really wants to be on the pitch for these crucial next sort of 2 months or so. That's Jack Grealish. I'm sorry, people. I know most City fans. I know most of you in the chat are City fans, and I know most City fans at this point accept how important and how good Jack Grealish is. Big role, crucial role in all the goals today. Big role in all of them. You could argue crucial. People, I think, now accepting how important he is. People in world football now need to accept how good Jack Grealish is and how important his role is to our team. You look at the performances he has this season, how much more balance, how much more composure, how much more effective and threatening we are going forward. The guy he's one of the most important players in the squad. And people refuse to acknowledge this. Why? Because his stats aren't amazing. He doesn't rack up goals and assists. Come on, Hugh. What wingers don't rack up goals and assists and get praise? Shut up, mate. Shut up. If my team is scoring 4 goals, looking threatening, looking balanced, with Jack Grealish in there, Jack Grealish is my guy. I thought today he was absolutely class. He played like he had a point to prove. He was slightly less predictable than usual. One of the commentators mentioned how he needs to go on the outside of the right back. Was his name Monzo or Munzo? He needs to go on the outside of him once or twice just to earn his respect type thing. He did that. He did that a couple of times, and he was unlocking players. He was being a magnet for defenders. Jack Grealish, I thought today was absolutely class, and I put him in the category of Phil Foden and Kevin De Bruyne, that if we are to have any success this season, Jack Grealish is going to be key over the next 2 months.
Well, we knew that when we missed him, because those big games were a nightmare to prepare for, knowing that you didn't have that set option. He was a trusted option. He doesn't grab headlines, or he doesn't grab many headlines for the reasons that you want. In terms, a lot of the headlines he gets is because he gets booed every week. Like that's the most you hear about him, which is still weird. I don't understand it, but it is what it is. But I mean, we're just so much better with him, and that's a simple fact. I don't think it's rocket science, because he may be predictable at times, but you could say the same thing about Mahrez. Mahrez was predictable. You get your 20 and 20, essentially. You get 20 and 20, but he was predictable. But that doesn't matter.
Sometimes predictability is effective if it's done to a high standard. Being predictable is not a bad thing if it's consistently effective. Being predictable is only a bad thing if you're doing it consistently and we're all scratching our heads going, why is he doing this consistently? I don't understand last season particularly when we were blowing teams out of the water. Big teams, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Liverpool 4-1 where he got a goal and assist. Chelsea away came on and changed the game. United, he even came on even though we lost in Old Trafford and scored a goal. Why are people banging their heads off walls going, why is Jack Grealish getting praise from the City fans? Because we're winning games with Jack Grealish on the pitch. Like, we have proven that football is not individualism. People have it in their heads that to be a really good team, you have to have 2 or 3 players who do everything on their own. No, football is about a team. And if a team is ticking with certain individuals in the team better than it playing without certain individuals, you play those certain individuals. And Jack Grealish, unfortunately for him, he's not going to get the numbers, which, as you said, he's not going to get the headlines. But in terms of the goals of football, the objectives of football to lift silverware, Jack Grealish helps us in that pursuit.
Yeah, the main objective as a player, as a manager, as a fan, is to win. And he is like the ultimate winning player. Like he does all the unrewarding work. He doesn't get too involved in the final third in terms of goals and assists, just raw output. But that's not what we bought. If we wanted output, if we wanted, 20 and 10, 15 and 10, something like that. We wouldn't have signed Jack Grealish because he wouldn't have got us that. That's not what we wanted. We wanted a guy who would come and help the team win. And that's what we got. We got a guy who, when he's missing, we all kind of go, well, who plays? Do we play this guy? It's not his position. Do we play Nunes? It's not his position. Do we play Foden? It's not his position. Do we play Doku? He's still raw and untested. Oscar Bob, same thing, raw. A lot of development still to go. But when he's in the team, it's like, when he's fit, it's like, okay, cool, Grealish starts. He starts in this game. Like, that's the stage where we're at, where a lot of people who don't watch, which is fine to not watch us if you don't support us. That's fine, because our games can be boring because teams set up to park the bus, and that's not a great watch to see us have 90% possession and have 10 corners that don't beat the first man. That's not entertaining. But if you don't watch the games, then that's where you get the opinion that he's not useful and he's not very good and he's overrated. When you watch the games, you realise what he does and you realise what he brings. And especially when you watch the games and he's not playing, then you see the difference in the way that we play and the players around him, the forward players.
I mean, Pep's a master at this. Pep has proven over his times before he's actually like the Barcelona teams where he had Xavi, Busquets, Iniesta, Messi, and so on. He proved that other players put around them are equally as important to them getting the headlines. For Messi getting the headlines, having certain players around him were equally as important to having Messi on the pitch. Your David Villas, your Alexis Sanchez's, your Pedro's, your Dani Alves's, Jordi Alba's. All these guys didn't catch the headlines, but their roles were so important and at times very unrewarding. I mean, it really frustrates me when I see people talk about Jack Grealish and go, oh, he's not that good. He's not that good. He didn't score in this game, or he didn't score this many goals that season, or this many assists and so on. So wingers need to get more numbers. I get it. It would be nice if he got more numbers. But once the team is ticking and once the team is playing well, which it so blatantly is, it's hard to complain. I find when people complain about Jack Grealish after a game where I believe he's played well, you're just telling me you haven't watched the game. You've looked at live score, checked the score of the game, seen Grealish didn't get a G or an A and gone, yeah, he didn't play well. No, mate, you didn't watch the game. You didn't watch the game. It's no disrespect to Doku. It's no disrespect to anyone. It's just the simple fact of the team plays great when Grealish is on the pitch. I'd be more than happy to see more of Grealish on the left, Doku on the right. I thought that was a pretty nice little link up or formation or combination, whatever you want to call it. But I really like the link up that Grealish has with whoever plays left side of midfield. He seems to click really quickly with those who play left side of midfield. He was actually working quite well with Vardiol at times. I don't think Vardiol had his best game by any means, but he was linking up quite well. They didn't take up each other's spaces. The one player I can only say I've ever looked at in the same sort of area of the pitch as Jack Grealish and said it's not working with Grealish in there is Cancelo. Cancelo was the only one that, if you put him on the same pitch as Grealish, they were getting in each other's way. They're trying to take up each other's spaces. They're trying to do each other's roles, each other's jobs, and it didn't really work. Other than that, Grealish works so well with so many players, and that's why Pep likes him, because he's versatile both in the way he plays as a player. He can carry, he can be creative, he can do what he wants, and he's also versatile in terms of the players that you can put him in combination with. He's just such a Pep player by every sense of the word. But people don't appreciate that. People will appreciate that when he's gone and when it's all said and done. And in 10 years' time, we look back at the treble team. But for now, it's he doesn't get GNA. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know what you mean. But on the other hand as well, it's still something that he needs to improve on. He does need to contribute more than he does. I think that had he played more this season, maybe he would. I remember that horrible streak that I keep mentioning that gives me flashbacks that I don't want, where we couldn't win a game. We couldn't see out a game to save our lives. He scored, 3 games in a row? He scored against Luton, Tottenham. Did he score against Chelsea? I can't remember whether that was the other game. But he scored 3 games in a row. Like, he was on fire for the part of the season where we were struggling. Like, he probably would have had one of his better output seasons had he stayed fit. It's unfortunate that he didn't. He still needs to do better, I think. Like, he's not the best natural finisher, but some of his shooting is wild. I think there was one today where it falls to him on the edge of the box from a corner. He was the man picked out. I said about that, the better. But it's undeniable the impact he has, even if he's a poor finisher or he doesn't get involved with GNA. Like, he doesn't get credited with an assist today. but he still kind of got one. Do you remember the Rico Lewis goal? It was his cross that got deflected. Because it took the deflection, that doesn't go down as an assist. Well, for me, that's an assist.
Yeah. It's totally created by Jack Grealish. The build-up was totally manufactured by Jack Grealish. It's I mean, look, I of course, and every player can improve on their GNA, and because he's a winger, you'll look at him and say he can improve on his GNA. But it just is what it is. I think he could shoot more. I actually think he should shoot more. There was 1 or 2 occasions, Jack Grealish today, where he cut in, as he always does, and there's a gap, there's an opening where if you pull the trigger and you hit the target, there's a good chance the keeper's not saving it because he's blinded. There's so many bodies in the way and moving about that if you pull the trigger, Foden's picked up goals by doing this sort of thing. De Bruyne has picked up goals by doing this sort of thing. Mahrez was an absolute specialist at it, cutting onto your strong foot, banging a really accurate and powerful ball at the goal, and it'll find its way in the back of the net. It's something Grealish probably could incorporate into his game, but I don't think it's a necessity. It's not mandatory because of his overall contribution to the game. But there's no doubt that, I think we're both in agreement that as long as he's fit, he's one of the first names in the team sheet. He's absolutely one of the first names in the team sheet.
Yeah, of course he is. I mean, the brief times that we've seen him this season, the team has just played so much better. Like it's not a coincidence. It happens too often for it to be a coincidence that we just somehow manage to turn it on just because he's in the team.
There's been games where he's gone off injured. And all of a sudden we look worse. Like the contrast in him starting a game and the team how the team looks when he goes off is huge.
Yeah, like I think the first time that happened was the Copenhagen away game where we start really, really well. He comes off the pitch, we look a little bit all over the place for sort of 5-10 minutes. I think we actually conceded not too long after he came off the pitch, and that's just kind of the effect he has. Doku comes on, and it's less of a sure option. He's more likely to win you a game, Doku, to be honest. Like, if I'm being honest, he's probably more likely to win you a game because he's going to take on his fullback and get to the byline. And yes, his final product's a bit iffy, but there's a chance that he might hit every now and then. With Grealish, I'm kind of less confident in it, but I'm more confident in the fact that we'll play better and probably won't lose. That's kind of the flip side of it. And in those big games where you can't afford to lose, it's Jack Grealish all day. And that's what got us over the line last season a lot of times. You look at them big away games, him being able to slow the pace down, win a foul, take the sting out of the game. If we were under the cosh, 5-10 minutes under real pressure, he'd come, receive the ball, win a foul, slow it down, we'd reset, the game would die down a little bit, we'd go again. Like that's something that we don't really have anyone who brings that sort of thing, where they can just draw fouls out of nothing.
For me, Jack Grealish is the game plan. Like, if you talk about Pep's overall game plan, the way Pep wants to play football, that's Jack Grealish. Jeremy Doku is when the plan's not working and you need to go and inject something different. That's what Jeremy Doku is. But because Grealish has been out for such large parts of the season, we've been kind of forced to go with Doku. And he's had good games, he's had bad games, and that's totally to be expected with such a young player. But that's my thoughts in summary. Grealish is the game plan. Doku is when here's plan B, right? Game plan ain't working today. We got to go and give the defender something else to worry about. So that kind of is what it is. He's going to play in the Burnabout on Tuesday, Grealish, no doubt. Big up to everybody joining us live right now. Make sure you've smashed the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new. Your support recently has been absolutely fantastic. There is a link if anybody wants to support us further in the chat right now to become a channel member, like Bree, like Puneet, like Briggsy, like loads of others. You can become a channel member, you become a channel moderator, you get a badge beside your name, and you're just supporting me and Joey Boy, two honest blues, making content every day now, every single day. Big up Puneet with the super chat. This leads me nicely, Puneet, onto our next topic of conversation. He says, special shout out to Rico Lewis. As of today, I have paid my membership. I have signed all the forms. I have got my card with my face on it. I have got my certificate of authentication, whatever the word is, to become a member of the Rico Lewis fan club. I am officially a member, a proud member, and season ticket holder of the Rico Lewis fan club. I think this kid is dynamite. Absolute dynamite. He is exciting, he's tenacious, he's audacious, he's aggressive, and he's technically gifted, and he understands our gameplay. Caveat, and some of you may not like this. We need to protect Rico Lewis. We need to look after Rico Lewis. We need to essentially not overexpose Rico Lewis. We have a gem on our hands. We have a diamond on our hands. Rico Lewis is a future star. He's 19. He's 19. The biggest mistake we could make, in my opinion, in the progression of Rico Lewis is playing week in, week out. Overexpose him, put him under so much pressure. You know, he'll make mistake after mistake. His confidence might get knocked. Let Rico Lewis develop. Let him progress. Let him play the minutes Pep gives him. Let him enjoy days like today. Let him enjoy days like Aston Villa. Let him enjoy days in the Champions League and so on and so forth. But don't overdo it. Don't overexpose him. We don't want to A, run this guy into the ground. We don't want to B, stunt his progression. And we don't want to C, knock his confidence. There has to be a plan outlined for Rico Lewis, and I see it. Based on form and based on what they offer to the team, Rico Lewis is probably my number one right back, and stepping into midfield as he has done the last 2 games. He's probably my number one based on what they offer and form. But in terms of, look, longevity-wise, I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to overdo it with Rico Lewis. I hope that makes sense, Joe.
It does make sense, because the last thing you want to happen is to go to the Bernabeu, him to get torn inside out by Vinicius, and then for him to just lose all confidence in himself because he's been rinsed. Vinicius will do that to most players. He will turn him inside out like a game of Twister. That's just what he does. So it's a dangerous game doing that, especially if he's going to step into midfield, which is what he's been doing, Rico Lewis. He'll be caught out, especially in transition, he'll be caught out of position. And at that point, it's just like, it could be dangerous. It could be really, really dangerous. So, baptism of fire, potentially. I guess it kind of depends on the fitness now, doesn't it? Because obviously Vardiel has a knock. We don't know how bad that is. If it's just a knock, then it'll be fine. But we're running out of defenders. We are running out of defenders. So, he may be called upon. He may just be called upon. But, obviously, you'd rather he didn't. You take him out the spotlight. He's had a couple of good games in a row. Really good games in a row. Especially considering the circumstances where he has not played for months. He's not played substantial minutes for months. He comes in, has 2 really good games.
Weird. It's not normal. it's not fucking normal how the guy can't. He doesn't play any substantial football for months on end, and then comes into the team this week and looks so sharp, so on it. That has to just be a testament to the coaching staff, to whoever, I don't know, testament to everybody involved, because I'm telling you, Joe, it's not fucking normal.
It's not. He shouldn't be able to do that, especially at the way that we play and the games that he's come into as well. Villa at home, he came on against Arsenal as well, at home. 2 massive games. And then Crystal Palace away, it's not an easy place to go. We've struggled against Palace before, and he comes in and he looks really, really good. He scored. How often does he score a goal? That's mental. Like, he shouldn't be allowed to do this, but he's doing it. But again, you got to be careful given his age and potential negatives of playing him too much. There's not really too many negatives for not playing him too much, because we've seen what happened when he goes months without football and gets thrown into the team. He looks fine. So there's no real negative to not playing him, but there is, potential negatives to playing him too much week in, week out. It's a big step for him to go from not playing in months to playing 2-3 times a week. Can he take that? If something goes wrong, how does he respond? How does he get his confidence back up? We don't know, because he's so young.
I think, look, people, because they see Phil Foden doing so well, they assume, Rico Lewis can probably do so well consistently as well. They're not the same. Foden and Rico Lewis are not in the same bracket. The reason you're seeing Foden thrive so much right now, particularly this season, is because he followed the progression plan that Pep Guardiola gave him. Pep Guardiola clearly handcrafted a plan for Phil Foden to get to the stage of development he's at right now, which was, you might see him play 5-6 games a season originally, cameos here and there. Then he might start the odd few games. Then he starts a few games consecutively, and then he's becoming an important player, and you know how good he is. Now he needs to be an important player. Now he is an important player. Now he's one of the first names in the team sheet. These were step by step plans outlined for Phil Foden to get to where he is now. There was no doubt that the plan was also in place for Cole Palmer, but he wasn't willing to wait for the plan. There's no doubt the plans were in place for Jadon Sancho. He wasn't willing to wait for the plan. Foden was willing to wait for the plan to get to its last step. And the last step is we're now saying Foden must start in midfield for Manchester City. So for Rico Lewis, he's slightly further back on his progression, but there's no doubt, man, he's a terrific player. I think the right full back role is in safe hands moving forward. You know, when Kyle Walker's finished and we need someone to be the main right back, or, you know, one of the heavily rotated or the main right back but gets rotated, as we see in general anyway, it's in safe hands. I'm a massive fan of Rico Lewis. And I think the confidence and the fearlessness that both him and Oscar Bob showed today, but particularly Rico Lewis throughout the week so far with Villa as well in mind, it's so admirable. I don't know what it is that our coaching staff do. I don't know what it is that is in the education at the CFA, but these young players are just audacious. They're arrogant. Do you know what I mean? They're arrogant, and not in a bad way. They just back themselves. They believe in themselves. They trust the system they're in. They trust their own abilities. Oscar Bob today, I thought, was really good. You see players like Rico Lewis, who are 18, 19, 20. Oscar Bob, likewise, 18, 19, 20. At most other clubs or previous young players we've ever seen in world football, around in the Premier League particularly, when they first get into the team, they're very cagey. Just make no mistakes. Just keep the ball moving. Don't get too much attention. Don't get too much spotlight. If you get a chance to go for something, go for it. Try and show your ability. But Rico Lewis and Oscar Bob and these kind of guys, they're just fearless. They'll take on a player. They'll go in for a 50-50. They'll pull the trigger. You think a 19-year-old player like Rico Lewis anywhere else is standing on the penalty spot for that ball that came in from Jack Grealish today as a right back? It's not normal. These players are aggressive and fearless, and it's why they are where they are. To be at the level they're at, to be in the team they are at, you have to have a certain level of arrogance. That's just the reality. Being humble and being fearful is not going to get you a spot in Pep Guardiola's team. And I'm telling you, man, both Rico Lewis and Oscar Bob have got really big futures. I just hope that nothing happens, you know, this summer or next summer where one of them goes, I want to be the main man now somewhere. Because whilst they are audacious and whilst they are arrogant and backing themselves, there's always the possibility that they'll go, I want to be the main man now. You know, fucking Tottenham have just rang and said they want a new starting right back or a new starting right winger, and they want it to be Oscar Bob, the same way Chelsea called Cole Palmer and said, yeah, fuck that plan Pep has in line for you, mate. You're going to be the main man here. And he goes, oh, brilliant. I'm going to be the main man at Chelsea Football Club. Arrives at Chelsea Football Club and realizes they're fucking shit. Trust the process, mate. Trust the process.
Well, they have every right to be arrogant and back their own ability, because the feeling for them should be, look at the teammates that they've had when they've come through the youth systems. Those teammates, those ex-teammates in the under-23s level, under-18s level, whatever, when sold, have become top players at Premier League clubs or top-level European clubs. Cole Palmer, best player at Chelsea. Romeo Lavia was the best player at Southampton when he left. Sancho, one of the best players at Dortmund when he left. Look at the resumes of these players who have left. Of course, they have every right to be arrogant and back their own ability and have loads of confidence in their ability. Because the players they were playing with when they left have become, hot shit. The best thing since sliced bread to wherever they've gone. So, yeah, damn right they should have confidence in their ability. And it pays off as well. It really pays off because they come in and it looks seamless. It looks like they've been here for a few years. That's how it looks, because the coaching, the way that we play goes down to youth level. So they've been playing this style of football for, years already, just without the senior heads in the dressing room. So when they come up to this level, yeah, they might only get a few opportunities, but they know the way we play, because they train the way we play. They've played underage level the same way that we've been playing. And that's down to the coaching. That's down to the way that the club is run. We know what we're doing with young players. We either get a profit or they turn out and be gems. That's kind of the way our academy is going. And, if they don't turn out here and they want to leave and they want to get off, then they turn out to be like one of the best players wherever they go.
You have to constantly remind Pep that you are an option. That's what you have to do. It's no coincidence that when players like Rico Lewis and Oscar Bob and even Phil Foden back in the day, when they come into the squad or they make their first few appearances for the team, we're all going, oh, they just get it. They just get it. They get the system. They know what they need to be doing. Of course they fucking do. They've been doing this for 8, 9, 10, 15 years. Some of them joined the club at 16, and they're now 2021, and they're all they know is Pep Guardiola football. That's all they've grown up with is Pep Guardiola, ex Johan Cruyff footballing education. So by the time they get to first team football, it's all they know, but just at a higher pace, a higher intensity, and a higher physicality, which is why we've seen Rico Lewis struggle. Like the reverse game of the Aston Villa one, he struggled in that one. He was getting physically dominated. He's obviously improved since then. So I just want, like, my point is, you have to consider your man, Pep, that you are an option and that you get it, because whenever we bring in a player like Doku, or we bring in, I don't know, Grealish, when he first came in, and we're all saying, oh, they're going to take time to adapt and to get the system. I get that, and you do have to bring in players who are going to go through that phase, but often enough, we have the answer to our problem, the solution to our problem right under our noses. It's staring you right in the face. You know, players like Oscar Bob, players like Rico Lewis may deserve to play more football. I do stand by what I'm saying, that you need to be careful and not overexpose them, but maybe they do deserve to play more football. I think Rico Lewis definitely deserved to play more football since Christmas than up to this week than he did. Because let's call a spade, people. Kyle Walker stunk up the gaff for many, many games. He had some games, Walker, where you'd say, yeah, he was good today. He was fine. He did his thing. But there were some games where Walker would really, really stink up the gaff. And you're kind of saying, you have a ready-made right back who gets the system, can step into midfield better than Walker does, will control the ball better than Walker does, and has more life in him right now, as Walker was going through personal issues, and that's fine. But maybe Pep should have taken Walker out of the team and said, you work on your personal issues, come back for the run-in, clear-minded, because we have this guy ready to play. I mean, I don't know what you think, Joe. I think, like I said, I stand by what I said about not overexposing, but he definitely deserved to play more minutes than he has this season, and I hope next season he gets many more than he did this season.
I don't even think it's a Kyle Walker thing either. Like, with John Stones being consistently unavailable as he is, like, Rico Lewis is the next best thing when you look at trying to do that inverted fullback role or stepping into midfield role from the back. He's the only other player that can do it and not be a negative in some capacity. Like, we've seen Akanji do it, he's alright, but when the ball turns over in transition, he looks lost. He doesn't know where he needs to be, and sometimes he can be clunky in the middle because he doesn't know exactly where he needs to be. Like, he's okay, he's a serviceable option, but it's not great. There are flaws. Same thing with Kyle Walker when he does the whole bombing on down the right thing. There are flaws. He can't cross a ball. But with John Stones, obviously he's number one. He's like the guy for doing that role. But he's always injured. Rico Lewis can do that.
Joe, sorry to cut across you. I'll let you finish that. But if you remember, Rico was the first player Pep ever did this with. Early last season, Rico was the first player that Pep got from the back line to step properly into midfield. And then John Stones went on and perfected it.
I was there when he did it. I was at Tottenham at home last season. Rico Lewis played. I was there when he did it. I was shocked. But he worked. Won the game. He played really, really well. He had a goal line clearance and everything. Like, he does both sides of the ball really well. He's just a very intelligent player. So, combine that intelligence with, yes, he has a small frame, but that helps him out. Maneuverability. He's not clunky in the middle. Plus the intelligence and just his on-ball work. He's very good on the ball and he's very intelligent. That is the perfect player to play in that midfield spot, and also know enough defensively to know where to be competent enough to defend. So he's like the second best at doing that role that we have currently at the club. I don't think he's like second best in the world or anything, but in terms of what we have, he's the natural other option. So he should have played more when John Stones was injured. He should have. 100% he should have. Because we sacrificed a few games. We sacrificed some systems and sacrificed some individual player performances to try and shove them into roles that they weren't necessarily good at doing. When we had Rico Lewis sat on the bench doing nothing.
Yeah, I agree. But you just have to trust Pep's plans, don't you? Guys, make sure you've smashed a like on the stream. It massively helps more people find the channel. Subscribe if you're new around here. And as always, there is a link in the chat if anybody wants to be a channel member and get a nice badge beside your name, like Bree and Briggsy and Punit and so on and so forth. You're just massively helping myself and Joe. Big up Aju with the super chat. He says, "Hey Hugh, I have a question for you. If you have an option to start a player in the lineup, either Foden or De Bruyne, would have you choose, or who would you choose, and what is the reason? City till I die. Adju, that's an ongoing debate right now. I find it so difficult to pick. I mean, I said on the Big Six that I go with Foden, and then De Bruyne goes and does what he did this morning, and reminds me of how much of a dickhead I am. I just find it really hard to. I would find it really hard to look at Phil Foden and say, "Sorry, mate, you're smashing it in the center, but you're not playing in the center." But then again, you have Kevin De Bruyne, who's Kevin De Bruyne, the greatest player to ever play for Manchester City. I think that goes without saying right now. I mean, I think I go with Kev still. I think I go with Kev, but I find it so hard because Foden has been so amazing in the midfield, so threatening, so vibrant. It's like a new lease of life. I think I still go with Kev just because he's Kevin De Bruyne, and there's nothing more to that other than he's just Kevin De Bruyne. I mean, Joe, what's your take on that?
God, can I only have one or the other? Like one and the other doesn't play in general.
Adju, you're saying if you can only have one in the lineup in midfield. I assume you mean in midfield rather than in the lineup in general, because they'll both be in the lineup, but in midfield, yeah.
I have two answers based on the question. My first answer would be Phil Foden. You can't drop him. You can't take him out of the team, man. He is half the reason, at least. You can mention Rodri because we seem to never play well without him. But he is the big reason as to why we are in this position. He's a massive reason why we're in this position. The position that we're in right now. Because when De Bruyne was out, he took over. He was the guy. So you can't drop him. So if it's one or the other, I'd lean Foden. I really would. But if it's a question of the other, who plays in that midfield spot over the other, I'd go Kevin De Bruyne. Because Phil Foden's versatile. So you can squeeze him in elsewhere.
It's so difficult, man. It's a great predicament because they're both elite footballers. Like I said this in the Big Six. I said I believe Foden is the best youngster in world football. I don't care what name you throw at me. I believe Foden is the best youngster in world football right now. But then you have Kevin De Bruyne, who is possibly, if not definitely, the greatest midfielder in Premier League history, and he's still doing it to an elite level. So it kind of what's your flavour of the day, I suppose, Adju. I think it goes without saying that De Bruyne will start on Tuesday beside Kovacic, Bernardo, whoever, and Foden will probably play on one of the wings. But I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a really, really tough one.
The real correct answer is both, but we know that bald fucking Spaniard... it's very disrespectful for me to call him this, but it's the truth. We know that this baldy will not use both. He likes to tease us. He really does. I hate it so much.
Yeah, there you go, Adju. The answer that we would have is both. I know it's not an option, but the answer I would like is both, but it ain't going to happen. We're going to move it on to the final kind of player versus player, because there's a lot of that going on right now. But before I do, once again, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you're subscribed if you're new, and the link is in the chat for anybody who wants to become a channel member. Stefan Ortega. Ederson was back on the bench today. Ortega, he had a crazy Cruyff turn. A lot of people really, really loving Stefan Ortega right now, and I get it. And my opinion is, in terms of out-and-out shot stopping, Stefan Ortega is probably better than Ederson. But unfortunately for Manchester City keepers, you need to be really elite with your feet. Excuse the rhyme. And that's what Ederson is. Where do you stand, Joe, with Ortega versus Ederson? And I suppose, who do you play on Tuesday? Ederson hasn't played football in a month and a half, 2 months.
It's another great situation to be in, isn't it? But it's another absolute horrible one where you have to pick one because you can't pick both. It's impossible. We've fallen in De Bruyne. You can make a case for just why not play both. You cannot play two goalkeepers. You have to pick someone. Someone has to sit on bench. And it's a difficult one because, I mean, even though you say Ortega's a better shot, he is a better shot stopper. I'm not denying that. But we still always concede from the first shot on target. It just happens. But he's a better shot stopper. But he's not as good with his feet, but that's understandable. Because Ederson is probably one of the best you'll ever see in terms of calmness and composure from playing out the back. He's psychotic at times. There's not a lot of things that go through his head. Sometimes it's really weird, the things that he does. I mean, he would have been proud of the Cruyff turn. He really would. But
He's done it. He's done it.
he's done it. It's difficult though, isn't it? Because I'm a big believer of you play well, your spot's yours. You know, if you're on form, you keep your spot. But are we really going to neglect last season's Champions League run and the saves Ederson made in the Champions League?
It's the stage. He doesn't give a shit. He's ice cold. Like Bernabeu, Champions League final, Istanbul. It doesn't matter. He's tapped. He just doesn't give a shit about like occasions. The guy's just weird. Nothing phases him. Whereas Ortega, we don't know. We don't know what has he ever played in the Bernabeu or what levels, like what big games he's played in that sense.
Untested, relatively untested. Biggest game he's probably ever played in was FA Cup final against United at Wembley. I'd say that's the biggest it's ever really got for Ortega in terms of, you know, magnitude of the game. FA Cup final at Wembley, Manchester derby, first ever Manchester derby FA Cup final. That was probably as big as it got. That's not as big as the Bernabeu. I'm sorry, it's not. If it was a better Man United side, could maybe make an argument, but it wasn't. This is Real Madrid, like the Bernabeu. This is different. It's a hostile atmosphere. Just ask Ruben Diaz from a couple of years ago. You can be on top of your game, top form, considered one of the best. You can make a mistake like that. It just happens. It's one of them places where stuff like that can just happen. A couple of years ago, Ruben Diaz giving away a penalty in extra time. No, he was on top of his game at that point. He was, you know, he was up there in conversations with the likes of Van Dijk and those top centre halves. But he crumbled in that moment. I mean, so did a lot of the rest of the team. But that is something that can happen. We know that Ederson's been there and done that. Yeah, like you said, he's cold. Nothing that phases him. But is he rusty? Yes. Has Ortega been playing well? Yes. So it's hard. It's hard to pick one. It really is. I genuinely, for me, it's 50-50. Complete 50-50. I do not know.
So what's your answer then? If you're going to go to the Bernabeu on Tuesday, the most hostile, intense atmosphere literally in world football in terms of demands and expectations, who do you go with? The guy who's done it before but hasn't played football in a month and a half, 2 months? Or the guy who's playing well recently but hasn't done it before?
That might be harder than the De Bruyne Foden question, man. Holy shit. Because Chat, let us know for Tuesday, Ortega or Ederson. It's difficult, isn't it? Because there's the potential for both to just completely blow up in your face and for Ortega to crumble in the moment. But there's also the other side playing Ederson. There's also the very, you know, realistic chance that he is so undercooked and makes a mistake. Like there's just, it's so high stakes that anything could happen if you play both. I really don't know. I don't have an answer. I can't pick one because there's positives and negatives either side.
I think if Ederson's fully fit, he plays. I think
so I'd lean Ederson just for experience. Really would. I'd lean towards.
I feel bad though. I feel nasty on Ortega even saying that because he's been so solid and he is so solid. He's gonna go this summer. Like we're gonna sell Ortega this summer because Ederson is the number one. But you know, there's a massive case for Ortega to start this game on Tuesday. There really, really is. But I think if Ederson's fully fit, he goes with Ederson. So that's our thoughts. Right, we're going to do a quick player ratings for today's game because we want to make that a thing. And we want you lot to get involved. Make sure you've smashed that big like button. If you haven't done so already, make sure you're subscribed. And if you want to be a channel member and help support Two Blues, myself and Joey Boy, making content every single day, there's a link in the chat right now. Big up Shard Life, big up The Citizen, big up Loudmouth, big up Section, big up Don, big up I Am Guardiola. Quick shout out to a few of the people joining us late tonight. It's nearly midnight now here where we are, so we're here late giving you guys the content. Right, let's start these player ratings. Guys, get involved. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know if we're being dickheads. Let us know if we're being too generous. Stefan Ortega obviously conceded 2 goals. Did successfully pull off a Cruyff turn. Made a couple saves. What did you think of his performance overall today?
I mean, he was fairly good. I don't remember him having all too much to do. Maybe made a couple of saves. I don't think I can blame either of the goals on him, really. I don't think I could put too much blame on him. But he has conceded twice. And I think we came up with it's hard to give like above an 8 to a goalkeeper if they concede once, let alone twice. So I'd lean maybe 7.5.
I was going to say 7 flat. Just because he conceded 2. Like I said, I like you said, I agree. They weren't entirely his fault, but I think 7 is it's fair. I see some 7.5, 6.5s, 7.3. So we're going to go in the middle somewhere and give him a 7. Vardiol, do you know that is Vardiol injured or was it tactical?
The word was, I think it was from Rico Lewis's post match and Pep Guardiola's post match, that he felt, a little tiny niggle. And they just took no chances whatsoever because we're running out of defense. We're running out of defenders. So they took no chances and took him off. I don't think it's serious.
What would you give him today then? I thought he was good going forward. Might have struggled a teeny bit on the defensive side of things.
I don't think he was too bad. He got booked, but he only played a half. I'd find it hard to give him above a 6.5. I don't think he was bad, but he only played a half.
6.5. I'd say 6.5. That's what I was going to go with.
He only played a half. It's hard to give him a high mark because he only did 45 minutes, and he ended. The last thing, he wasn't bad, but the last thing he did was get booked and then get subbed at half time.
You have to caveat pretty well any Vardiol left back performance by saying he's not a left back, or he's been doing left back for the last 8 months, 7-8 months. That's about it, and he's doing a decent job for someone who is it's not his position. Ruben Diaz, I don't remember a huge amount of Ruben Diaz today. What kind of a game did he have in your opinion?
Mixed. I thought potentially could have got himself across for the second goal. But he made a great block as well that Stones cleared off the line after. God, who gave it away? Was it Rodri? Who gave it away? Rodri wasn't great. We'll get on to him, but it was fine. I don't think it was. It was definitely not blowing out of water stuff. I don't think there was anything absolutely horrendous though. It was better than last time. Say that much.
So what would you give him?
Maybe a 7 as well, flat 7. It's hard to give defence high ratings. We conceded 2 to Crystal Palace.
Would you give Stones the same then?
I thought Stones was maybe slightly worse. I didn't think he was on it at all today. Obviously, he's a bit of rust. He's not played in a while. He keeps getting injured, but...
I was going to say 7 for Diaz, 6.5 for Stones.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards lower for Stones. I don't think he was too good. First game back from injury, so I cut him some slack, but... Maybe he's just so used to playing in midfield. Maybe he's just so used to playing in midfield that when he has to play as a centre half, he doesn't know what he's doing. Lost.
Stones, mate, if you're not happy with that result or that score we're giving you, take it up with Gareth Southgate because he's the reason you got injured. Rico Lewis has to be high marks. Got his goal. Did a brilliant job stepping into midfield. Probably give him an 8.5, maybe even a 9.
Part of a defence that conceded 2. Yes, he had less defensive responsibility. But he's, on paper, right back in a back 4 that conceded 2. But he scored. I'd say 8.5. Very high mark. He's very good. But again, he technically is a defender. And we conceded twice.
All right. 8.5 it is. 8.5 it is. Big up Rico Lewis, though, man. Right, Rodri. A lot of people in the chat unhappy with Rodri. You said you're not happy with Rodri. What was the issue with Rodri for you today?
That was his worst game in a long time. Me. He kept giving the ball away. Taking too long on the ball, put us under pressure, unnecessary pressure. It was just very sloppy. It was just very, very sloppy. It was to his standard, it wasn't a good game. It's the worst he's played in a long time. He's allowed a bad game every now and then. He's human. He plays every week. He needs a break, but it wasn't great.
Pre-burnabout nerves is what it is. Yeah, he's getting his losing the ball out of his system before we go to the burnabout on Tuesday. So I'll allow it.
He was so confused, man. He was so confused that he got subbed off against Villa. He didn't know what he was doing today.
He also wasn't hugely influential on the attacking side of things in comparison to what he was against Villa. It was a quiet day at the office for Rodri. One of the ones that he won't look back on and go, that was a big one for me. I'll probably give him a 6 by his standards.
6.5 maybe if we're being generous. He managed to escape another booking.
Yeah, maybe 6.5. I mean, it's up to you. I'll let you have the final call.
I'll put 6.5, but if anyone in the chat's unhappy, I can go for a 6.
Okay.
6, 2 mistakes first half. Rodri just tired. 5.8, 6.5. Rodri 7.5, 6.3. It's leaning closer towards a 6.5, which is where we're at. I'll leave it 6.5. I'll leave it 6.5.
Leave it at 6.5 and we'll move on to
Oh dear.
Alvarez.
Oh
Back in
dear.
midfield. It's not for me, chat. It's not for me, Alvarez in midfield. I get what people say and what they like about it when he plays in there, and I get he works extremely hard. It's just not enough. It's just not enough for me. I'm not an Alvarez in midfield kind of guy. I'd much rather Bernardo in there. Maybe he's being rested for the Bernabeu. I'd have even preferred Kovacic maybe. It's just not for me. It's just not for me. He was fine. I think he was better than he was against Villa. But it was nothing where you'd go, wow, or this was a great performance, was it?
It still baffles me why he's still on set pieces, or some of the set pieces. That's still baffling.
Brutal set piece.
Again, some of I'm stumbling over my words here, right? Some of the shot selection is still just terrible. He did another one where he practically shot at the byline again today, and it drives me insane. It's like, mate, just square it.
Yeah. I'd give him a generous 6. It's not his fault either, chat.
No,
I'm not going in on him as a player. He's just not playing where he should be playing. He's not a midfielder. Julian Alvarez is not a midfielder. I watched the game with my eyes. He's not comfortable in there. He doesn't contribute enough. He doesn't contribute as much as a Manchester City midfielder should do. It's just not for him. It's just not for him. He's a striker. Like, Alvarez is a striker. I mean, I'd give him a 6. If you want to be really, really generous, you could give him a 6.5. He was fine. He was fine.
What did we give him against Aston Villa? Was it 5.5?
Yeah, 5.5. He was slightly better than the Villa game, though. He was. Yeah.
If we give him 5.5 there, I'd say 6. Because the one thing you can guarantee is he works hard. That is one undeniable fact. But there are multiple other players that will work hard that are better suited to the rest of the game.
There's a young boy from Stockport called Phil Foden who did a pretty good job. So
Mate.
What are we settling on? 6, yeah?
I'll settle on a 6. Again, it's not his fault. We're not digging him out. It's just not. He shouldn't be playing there.
It's not for him. It's not for him. Right. Swiftly moving on. Kevin De Bruyne. I think he deserves our star again today. Joe.
Hey, I'll unhide it. I hid it because it was next to him anyway because Foden was there last week. But are we saying 10? Are we saying 10?
Is Kev a 10, chat? Is Kev a 10 today?
2 goals and an assist. What's the requirements for a 10? Does he have to get a hat trick? Or is it a 10 because he gets 3 goal involvements? I'm willing to give him a 10.
The Citizen says 10, Ben says 9.5, Section says 9, Bree says 9.5, Guardiola says 10.
Section says 10 must be hat trick or more. That's what I'm saying. Are we saying 10 is reserved for you have to have a hat trick or a hat trick of assists? Or are we saying 10 can just be...
That's crazy criteria. And he got his 100th goal for the club, man.
I'm saying 10. Personally, I'm saying 10.
I'm saying 10. I'm saying 10. Bro, and it's not like, look, you can say he has to get a hat trick, but if you get a hat trick, it happens. Is that a 10? Bro, the first goal particularly was insane. Like, there's not many players in world football can do that except him. And he pulls it off like that when we're 1-0 down and says, nah, we ain't losing this game. That was like Michael Jordan type stuff. I'm going to do this shit my own. He's getting my 10, man. He's getting the 10 and a star beside his name for man of the match. Yeah, Kevin De Bruyne, man. Congratulations on 100 goals for the club. Jack Grealish, 4 essentially direct or indirect goal involvements today. Fantastic. I'm sorry, fantastic. I just love this guy, man. I'm just a Grealish stan. I appreciate him. Jack, if you're watching, just know I appreciate you. I appreciate you, and I always have. I think he gets an 8 today. Or an 8, maybe even 8.5.
I think it's the same story for Villa. I think we gave him an 8.5 for that as well. Where all 4 goals have come down his side of the football pitch. And unfortunately, he can't get a 9 or anything because he hasn't, directly been credited with a goal or an assist. But all 4 goals came down our left-hand side where he played. But don't tell me he was bad.
8.5 is fair. We'll do Oscar Bob first, then before Haaland.
Yes.
There has to be a bit of a discussion on Erling Haaland. Oscar Bob, once again, really, really good. Really, really good. Not everything worked for Oscar Bob today, Like he did get dispossessed once or twice, and it wasn't like the perfect day for him. But you can't ignore how hard he works, how tenacious he is, and how technically gifted he is, and how much potential you can see in Oscar Bob. I think it was a good day at the office for Oscar Bob. I think it was a really valuable experience for him as well. Probably an 8, yeah, as the Citizen says, for his second half performance.
8?
Maybe 7.5.
I was thinking 7.5 because
I'm being generous to Oscar Bob because he's young, and I don't want to criticize too heavily, and I don't want to dissect too heavily.
Yeah, but I just think while he had a good game and he made some moments happen on his side, ultimately nothing ended up coming down his side, like in terms of output. Nothing came from his side. That's not his fault. But I struggle to give an 8 for not being at least directly responsible for something. There wasn't like he was trying things. He was getting past his man. Palace made it difficult because they set up with a back 5. Thought he dealt with it really well. Had a great link up with Rico Lewis down that side. But I'm saying 7.5. I think 8's maybe slightly too high because look, it was better than your Diaz's, your Ortegas. I don't think I'd give him an 8. Close to Lewis. Definitely better than Alvarez. Of course he is.
All right, let's run with a 7.5, but we are acknowledging the link up between him and Rico Lewis today. I thought that was magical. Exciting. Yeah, magical. Right, Erling Haaland looks like the most frustrated man in Manchester right now. Got his goal, barely celebrated. I think he's stressed right now, Erling Haaland. I think he's stressed. I don't know what it is. Is it lack of service? Is it runs he's making not being found? Remember, he lashed out, or not lashed out, but he got triggered by, was it Lerma today at one point, big time. I don't think he was triggered specifically because of the incident. I think he's just stressed in general that he's not getting the numbers, he's not getting the chances that he's probably looking for. It almost feels a bit like City of 2-3 years ago, where it's the wingers and midfielders are getting all the headlines, getting all the praise. Foden, De Bruyne, and Grealish, Bernardo are getting all the praise and getting more of the numbers at the minute. But he still got a goal, didn't he? I mean, 30th goal for the season, for a poor season, exactly, Brie, is pretty good going because that's how good he is. I mean, how do you summarise the Haaland situation right now?
There are times where he looks maybe... I'm not a body language expert. Right, but to me, just an onlooker. I'm a fan, I'm watching. Again, I'm no expert. But there are times where he just looks disinterested. Just flat out disinterested. He's walking about, he looks like he's moping around, he doesn't really care too much. He'll spring into action if something happens, of course he will. Because he wants to score. But I don't think you can put it on lack of service. I really don't think you can put it on lack of service. He had a one-on-one today and he missed. Had a one-on-one with the goalkeeper and he missed.
He should have scored that.
I said it in our Discord server, which, if you remember, you can be in there and come chat to us. But I said it. I said, last year, one-on-one is a formality. It's a goal. This season, I'm genuinely 50-50 on whether he's going to put it on the back of the net, because I don't know. I really don't know what's going to happen this season with him. I don't know what's going on. I'm not putting it down to lack of service. I'm really not, because I'm beyond that. You can put it down to he's not getting enough chances, but is that not just more the fact that teams are going back to playing, back sixes against us? Of course he's not going to get loads of tap-ins. Teams are just packing the penalty area. I don't so what if they pack the penalty area against us? No wonder our midfielders are getting more plaudits. They're more likely to score a goal from outside the box, create a goal for themselves. Haaland's not going to create a goal from himself. He relies on the service, and if they pack out the box, he's not going to get much. And that's just the way the game goes. Tough tits. That's just the way it goes. You can't put any blame on the lack of service. He's played with Phil Foden. He's played with Kevin De Bruyne. He's played with Jack Grealish. Look at the names he had around him today. De Bruyne, Grealish, Oscar Bob. All had good games. Rico Lewis, I lad in there as well. Really good games. But what are they supposed to do? Pick him out 10 times? Palace played with the back 5. I don't know what you want from service. He got 2 opportunities. He scored 1. That's 50%. We take it and we move.
It's difficult, mate. It's difficult. I can't put my finger on it. He's definitely not himself. And he looks stressed out. But he's still getting numbers, isn't he? I mean, 30 goals in a season where it's been poor for him it's pretty good going. But I mean, today, what would you give him for a rating? 7.5, including the goal?
I'm trying to think of what I would give him if he didn't score, and then take into account the goal. Because it's hard to really come up with a solid answer. Because he did score, but he also missed a one-on-one.
What should he do in a situation like today, where the penalty box is packed out and it's not going to come his way? Because the reality is, most teams we face these days and going forward will just pack out the penalty box. That's how Arsenal nullified us. Pack out the penalty box, 2 banks of 5, congest the fuck out of Haaland's space, and he's nullified. But Haaland's going to have to find ways to maneuver around that and make himself effective in situations like that, isn't he?
He is. I'm not a professional coach, so I don't have the answer. The only answer I can give him is he just keeps trying. It might be frustrating, but if he lets the frustration get to him, then when he does finally get that chance, he's going to miss it. Because he's thinking about... He's pissed off. He's thinking about other things. He's not thinking about the game. Like today with the whole Lerma thing, with him going down, holding his face and him getting frustrated and gobbing off. Like, I need you concentrating on the game, mate. Because I know you're not getting too much service. But that's the way teams are. Their teams are that scared of us. That's what they're doing. Like, it's not going to be easy. He may have, certain games, he may have more chances to score because it'll be more open. But right now, teams are parking the bus, and that's the way it is. And there's not a lot we can do. We can't force a team to come out and play man for man. The next opportunity that I'm thinking of a team playing man for man, we might get, because we still got to play Brighton, I believe. They're a team that no matter who they play, they go for it. So potentially he gets more space there.
Tottenham probably will in their place.
Yeah, like there are games to come where he could have chances. Look at the Luton game. Look what happened to Luton in the Cup. They tried to go man for man, and it failed miserably. How many teams are going to look at that and go, yeah, I'm going to try going man for man? It's not going to happen.
Let's go man for man, which is a proven game plan where Haaland could potentially dunk 5 on you.
Nonsense. It's not going to happen. You just have to learn to play through it. You've got to come up with something.
Patience, I suppose, is a massive factor then, isn't it? So what are we going to give him?
7.5 if I'm generous.
I think 7.5 because the goal. The goal was needed at the time. It was pretty crucial.
It was a big goal. Big goal. Again,
he took it well, man. He took it well.
He did.
Beat the defender. Got in front of the defender, stuck in the back of the net.
But that's something that he can maybe use because we know his physical capabilities. The less said about, his strength, his hold-up play, his jumping. He's very quick. He's very quick off the mark. He can zip in front of a defender if he thinks he's going to be able to catch him flat-footed, like he did today for his goal.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, there you go. That's kind of it. There's your player ratings up on screen right now. If you're watching on playback, let us know what you think. As always, let us know if we're being dickheads or we're being too generous. That's how it works around here. It's now 10 to midnight where we are, so it's been a long day. We will be back tomorrow, I would say, to talk about whatever happens in the Liverpool United match. What are you hoping for there? Are you hoping that are we United fans tomorrow? Or what's the crack?
I'm a United fan until they turn around and get absolutely walloped, and then I'm a Liverpool fan because it's funny.
Okay, right. So we're a City United.
I'm thinking on my interest, right? I want United to at least get a point off them. But if Liverpool are going to win, I want United to get absolutely walloped. Like 7-0 again.
Okay, right. Well, we will probably go back live tonight or tomorrow night for another late night chat about the same time, 10, half 10, and start looking towards Real Madrid because we won't get a stream on Monday night because I got Big Six and I'm flying out. I'm due to be flying out. I think I'm going to go. I have it booked Real Madrid for Tuesday morning. So, yeah. It might be the last game I go to this season because I really want to do watch-alongs on this channel with Joe. I really want to bring watch-alongs. I'm getting the equipment bought in. I'm getting everything sorted so that we can do watch-alongs here. Let us know if you guys want to see watch-alongs on the channel because we want to do them, but it's only if you guys want to see them. You got to let us know. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We're one subscriber of 7.4k. So if you're new, subscribe. There's a link in the chat there now if anybody wants to be a channel member and help support me and Joe on this journey we're on here on this personal channel. We're trying to grow a good community of people. We've already got some great members, great subscribers, and so on and so forth. So all of your support massively helps. If you want watch-alongs, let us know, because we want to bring them. But we're going to continue to keep doing more streams, get some guests on. I'm getting the software bought next week, StreamYard. I'm getting that bought next week to bring on guests. Obviously, I got plenty of friends in the Man City content space and the space in general, so we can get loads of guests on. I want to get LB on, I want to get Jordy Porty on, I want to do panel shows, I want to get rivals on, I want to do watch-alongs. A lot of things we want to do with this channel, so all I ask is that you guys support, subscribe, like, and yeah, we should be back tomorrow for a stream to chat about hopefully Liverpool dropping points. Liverpool drop points tomorrow. Boy, I tell you, it's a hot title race. But listen, until then, go get some sleep, people. Go get some sleep. A well-earned 3 points today, and we will regroup tomorrow and assess the situation for the week. Big week, Real Madrid. And yeah, until then, good night and God bless. Wrap her up, Joy Boy.
Listen to your heart, tell me who you wanna be. We can always start to believe. Listen to your heart, tell me that you understand, 'cause you are the one for me. If you just believe, 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 believe. Listen to your heart, 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 heart. Listen to your heart, 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 heart. Listen to your heart, tell me who you wanna be. We can always start to believe. Listen to your heart, tell me that you understand, 'cause you are the one for me. You just believe, you just believe, you just believe, you just believe. Listen to your heart, 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 tell me who you wanna be.